What's going on, guys? You're here with another episode of Aim with Purpose. Today we're obviously with my co-host Matt Burke.
What's going on, guys?
And today we're going to be interviewing Derrick James, local business entrepreneur out of Loudoun County.
How are you, bro?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well.
What about you, bro?
Another day? Every day above ground is a good day.
Hey, man! All right, well, pretty much it's been a long time since we recorded. I got to shake the rust off and get to it. But today we're going to honestly interview Derrick about, his business ventures in here in Loudoun County. He's been all around. His main business venture is now the podcast studio rental, I guess, or just podcast.
Yeah. PAX Podcast Studios.
So tell us a little about that.
Yeah. So I'm Derrick James. Thanks for having me, y'all. We're in the studio right now. It's our first studio. Started a company earlier this year called PAX Podcast Studios. So we provide a space for content creators to create their content. The reason why it's called Podcast Studios because for the algorithm and for the SEO, it really is a space for anybody to create any sort of content. So we have two spaces now. One that we're in right now, and we have another one we have three. We have one right next door. We also have one in Mayweather Gym. It's a very unique sort of podcasting studio.
Is that one smaller than this one, or is it the same size?
It's smaller, but it packs the same punch. See what I did there? Boxing. Yeah. But I'm also, but that's my passion. My day job, I'm a political consultant. So right now I'm working on a state senate race for a special election here in the county.
Okay.
I've also worked on a bunch of presidential campaigns. I worked in the White House under Obama for a few years. I was press secretary for the Department of Energy. I worked for civil rights organizations as communications director. Worked for a member of Congress. Worked for a mayor. So I was, I'm heavily into politics, as much as I hate politics, which is why I created this thing where we have our content creation studio. It's also a digital marketing and social media firm. So we have a few clients here in Ashburn. Well, excuse me, we have a few clients in the DMV that we work with now on social media. And for some reason, I've been good all week, and I'm losing my voice today, and I'm getting like a cold.
It's an attack, bro.
It's an attack. Not to mention, this is our second recording because somehow I deleted the last recording.
But the first one was actually life changing, bro. That was actually my favorite recording by far.
Let's do another one.
The Holy Spirit was moving in that one, bro.
I was cursing too much.
I was motivated. He sounds crazy.
I wasn't gonna cuss as much.
Yeah, straight. I've been working on that as well. I got humbled quick by friends. But
yes.
Have there been any setbacks in terms of starting the PAX podcast?
Yeah.
Obviously the one we just literally talked about, how there'll be recordings and they somehow get deleted or the audio's corrupted, which we've also had, defilements and that kind of.
Yeah, there's been a lot of. Anytime you start a business, you have to expect setbacks. You can prepare for some setbacks. But I'm not a person. I don't take setbacks well. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just not. I'm a perfectionist, and I've been really hard. I'm hard on myself in general as a person, and I had to learn real quick that when you deal with electronics and cameras and things like that, you have no control over what happens. Sometimes it could be a little bit too warm in the room, and the camera could be on a little bit too long, and then you'll be doing a podcast and the camera will just shut off. I know this happened to you guys before.
Yep.
Besides, so that in the beginning of creating the studio, now my partner is my wife, so my wife is the one who really sort of designed the studio, made it look nice. She's also our social media lead as well. There's a whole other conversation I can have about working with your spouse, but in terms of setbacks and challenges, there are challenges every single day with the business, with the actual day to day, and then the business too. I know before we started, I was telling you about, how hard it is it's hard to bring in customers,
right?
Because not everybody sees podcasting as a realistic thing to do. It's hard to translate the studio to other people who might not want the podcasting, but may want content creation. It's hard for them to understand that you can use the studio for anything.
Right.
The harder thing is when you have customers is keeping them sort of satisfied.
Yep.
Not everyone is going to be amenable to small mistakes whether it's a bad sounding track or something wrong with the camera. So you have to really try to prepare people for, you give them a good product, but you also have to give them realistic expectations. That's not something I did in the past. I always want to go above and beyond. But I learned real quick that you got to be humble in this podcasting space, but also as a business owner, you got to be humble, man, because like every day is a challenge. So
Right.
Whether it's having customers that don't want to pay you, or it's just getting up and learning a new sort of skill. Like podcasting is not my background. Like I said, my background is political consulting, and marketing and communication. So I didn't even know how to use the cameras when we first started, and so I use it as an opportunity just to learn.
Right.
And so the learning curve is very, very long, and so every single day is a challenge. Like every day, something happens, a mistake, something goes wrong, but then I use it as an opportunity to learn. Once I fix it, I've learned a new thing. Yeah. And then I have, I try to keep people around me to know more than I do too. So that helps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are definitely a lot of moving pieces with the production of any kind, whether it be a TV show, whether it be something as simple as what we're doing here. And to think that it will always go correct and always be the outcome, or to think that nothing will ever happen to where the product won't be perfect is naive, but at the same time, it's a corrective process. If the camera dies one day, we know to charge it the next day. If the file gets corrupted one day because it's not able to be exported, I've had that happen before, correct it the next day. It does suck when you have a pristine opportunity like we had last time and you don't get to capitalize on that opportunity, but it's not to say that there aren't more opportunities down the road. So I think that is a good point, that you have to hone in on what you can do better going forward, and whatever's happened in the past, it's happened in the past. It's not in the end of the world.
Business ownership has taught me you cannot be, your back should always face the past. You cannot be looking at the past.
Right.
You can't be thinking about your mistakes, because what happens is, like one of my first experiences in trying to go above and beyond with this studio was dealing with an individual who will remain nameless, but they wanted a video produced, and everything was very last minute on their end. I didn't get everything that I needed in time, but we tried to make it work, and I had some editors that were working through the night, and then once it was produced, I didn't like it, but we got everything last minute, so we did what we could. This person cursed me out, told me, I shouldn't have a fucking business, told me if she saw me, she was gonna kick me in my fucking throat, all sorts of crazy stuff. It was super demonic. I mean, there's no other word for it.
Right.
And she said a lot, sometimes, you have throughout life, you and me, Matt, we talk about imposter syndrome all the time.
Yeah.
Everybody has imposter syndrome to some degree. And so I think that when you start a new venture, you immediately go into sort of imposter syndrome, because you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, so I have to learn. So when you have somebody that comes to you like telling you shouldn't have a business because they don't like their product,
It's demoralizing.
it could demoralize you.
Yeah.
But that's where the humility comes in. It's understanding that individual, it's not personal. They're just, whatever anger they have inside of them, they're just sort of expelling on you because you're the first person next to them.
Right.
And I'm mentioning it now, but I don't think about it, because if I did, every time I had a customer come in here, I'd be thinking, I shouldn't have this business. I don't want to make this person angry. I don't want to experience that again, because it did affect me for about a day. Then I got over it, and I realized that they have their own set of issues going on. But yeah, you gotta, man. You talk about resilience. You talk about diligence and hard work. It's stuff. Entrepreneurship is not easy. Everybody around you thinks you're crazy, especially if you're doing something you never did before. It's until people see the fruits of your labor that they want to eat some of that. They want
That's everything.
That's with everything. Once you get a little success. So we were in this little magazine, Ashburn magazine, which out here is pretty big. And I remember how many people hit me up. I didn't even know we were in. We knew we were going to be in the issue, me and my wife, because they featured our studio, but we didn't know when it was coming out. And frankly, we didn't track it. So one day we're out on vacation, Massanutten, and we get all these text messages from people that I hadn't heard from in a minute. I saw your studio. I'll make sure, I'll share it with people. I'm like, why didn't you share it when we first opened? I was like asking you to help. So it's just, you have to have a level head as an entrepreneur, and I'm sure there's a lot. I mean, there's so much more I can say about just entrepreneurship, but in my situation here, I've had to really change the way I think about the world and what I do. And it's hard because sometimes I don't feel like I don't have a purpose. Like I just feel like I'm just working to try to grow the business, but that's not really my purpose. My purpose in creating this studio was for guys like you guys to be in here and record. My initial purpose was I wanted to bring in believers into the podcasting space. I wanted people who, I feel like we're in a time in our history, in our civilization, that is much different from any other time in history. You can call it,
some people call it the information age.
You call it biblical. You call it whatever you want to call it. But there's clearly a lot going on. To wake up in the morning to see like hurricanes and tornadoes and Netanyahu and attacks in Gaza and Russia,
where you can open your
and
phone
then like
and
increased cancer, all the stuff you see when you open your phone, increased cancer rates, increased depression, and suicide, the lust, the fact that I can't open up my phone without seeing some butt, like the fact that I can't, like my kids open my phone to play a video game and on TikTok and there's or whatever, not a video game, but it's like open my TikTok and there's like somebody I don't even follow, like we're living in a fallen world, so. For me, it was like, how can I bring believers together to have a space where they can spread the word? I have not reached that. I've not reached that yet because honestly, I got to focus on the business. I got to focus on keeping this place open.
There's a logistical side of it that does kind of get in the way of the intention that you have for it, and one way or the other, it's not necessarily a bad thing because at the end of the day, everything that we're sitting in and everything that it costs to fulfill that purpose costs money. Yeah. So there is.
Stop messing on my carpet. I'm cleaning it. It's already messed up, bro.
I was trying to put everything. It was like a tick. It was fun.
What are you doing?
Take it over.
What were you saying?
I'm joking.
But even with Aim with Purpose, there's the intention behind what we do, and then there's the logistical side of getting it done.
Yeah.
And those don't always align, but they still are a piece to the same puzzle. So, it's not going to always be ideal, like you're saying. I'm not sure where I was going with that, but
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why do y'all call it Aim with Purpose?
Honestly, dude, and I was thinking about that as you brought that up. Me and Matt started it in terms of, in my garage, we would hang out with like a lot of my friends, sometimes his friends, but a lot of the time we would have conversations that were out of the norm and it would lead people into like a growth mindset to where every time we'd have these long conversations, whether it was 30 minutes, 2 hours, sometimes a little longer, sometimes shorter, but it was always someone felt like they were growing from that conversation. And from that point on, me and Matt were not as close as we are now, obviously, but this is like the first few months we met, is we kind of felt like we had like a connection in terms of like the conversations that we sparked. And it was all his idea, truly, all glory to God that I met a friend like this and a brother. I can call a friend a brother. But the conversations were for Aim with Purpose, and that's why he made the name. It was made to spark a growth mindset in people, to think more positive and to think better in terms of their life and to be more comfortable with the way they think or to know that they're not alone in certain thoughts. But little did we know, as we started driving the vehicle, kind of led us more into realizing what our faith has gotten us to think. And it was kind of like the same, I guess, ship, if you will. Like it kind of sailed into the same direction. So it's like, at first it wasn't for faith and to get people closer to God, but like we were always trying to plant those fruits into people. We were always trying to make people think more positive, and we were always trying to make people feel more comfortable with light and not, with where they were. But yeah, I that was mostly Matt, like glory to him, but like he made the name, but it was always the same thought process. Like we wanted to use it as a vehicle to help others.
Yeah, the name itself is just two ideas put together. I don't remember what the first iteration was. I think Aim with Purpose was like the second thing that it really didn't take long. It was like, I think
that was the second name ever.
Yeah. But the two concepts that I threw together, piggybacking off of exactly what Isaiah is saying, is to, and this came to me, you know, however you want to decipher it, when at a time where I was in a position where I was actually able to join the workforce at a young age, and I had enough income in that moment to where I could think more freely, and I didn't have to lock myself in the box in career path
for a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't have to lock myself in the box that my parents wanted me to be in or my family wanted me to be in, and I had more creative freedom about my days and what I wanted to do. So to get back to the point, aiming with purpose. The aim is to aim at the highest goal you could possibly achieve for your life, and the purpose side of it is to aim with the purpose of not only changing your life but the people around you's life for the better. So you're aiming with purpose, you're aiming with intention, you're walking with intention, you're walking with purpose. You can see where this is kind of going. There's a lot of different ways you could spin it, but the idea is to aim at the highest thing you can possibly achieve with the purpose of bettering yourself and the people around you, which I always like to go back to the analogy of like when the plane is going down and that oxygen mask dropped from the top, you have to put on your own oxygen mask before you put on someone else's. So that's why it's important to always be selfless, but there has to be a selfish aspect to your journey so that way you can build yourself up to provide for others. And that's something that I personally struggled with for a while because I was so empathetic that I had to give and give and give and give and give. But it wasn't to the caliber in which I wanted to give, because if you don't build yourself up, you don't have anything to give. So that's something that I've kind of had to battle the last couple of years. But as far as aim of purpose, that's the idea and the direction that we started with, and we're going to continue to go. And like
I was going to say, my ADHD is brewing, bro. When you said mask and plane, I met somebody last year who got in a plane crash and survived. And that was crazy. They told me the story. Anyway. Just thought about it.
Yeah.
ADHD's red.
Oh yeah, no, my ADHD's crazy.
running.
Man. I'm trying not to. I have our own podcast. I'm trying not to put my podcasting hat on, my podcast host hat on. 'Cause I have so many questions.
I'll ask questions.
Yeah,
I'd like
by
to
all
be
means.
in.
I mean, I just think anytime we get together, like we don't get together far enough, but like I think it's a generational divide, but it doesn't feel that way, at least to me. But I always am interested in like you guys in your early 20s, like
22, 23 next
yeah,
month.
like I think about when I was in my early 20s, how different the world was, and it's partly why I have this podcast studio. I want younger people to kind of use it, because I think you guys are living in a whole different world that y'all are just used to it, but this is not how things used to be. The fact that you can even be like, yo, I want to have my own show and just create it is crazy. Because of the internet, because of technology,
Right.
And the fact that you could have like an actual voice, like the whole throughout history, young people felt like they didn't have a voice, like nobody wanted to listen to them. And now it's like reverse. Now it's like mostly young people are the voices, and y'all are like dominating, the zeitgeist, dominating, sort of like society, and it's dope to see, because you guys are growing up in this era where like, bro, everything is so different than when I was 20.
Well, it's different even when I was like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old.
Well, I think I was probably 23. Wait.
23, yeah. Something like that. 10-ish plus years.
Yeah.
And no, it is beautiful though, because you realize like, I was listening to Earl Nightingale's video I used to watch a lot back when I was younger. It's like 2-3 years ago. And then the sermon that you shared the other day. But it's like cool to realize like people can actually like succeed in what they want to do. So like success by definition, and the sermon said the same exact thing, which was very interesting. And then Earl Nightingale said back in the 60s, 70s, but it says success is the realization of a worthy ideal. So it's like, for example, like me, I'm successful, right? And some might not think I'm successful because I didn't make this, 6-figure job yet and all of this whatnot, right? But to me, I'm successful because I wanted to be a personal trainer. That was the idea that I made. It was worthy to me, and I chased it, and I succeeded in it, right? I'm now a personal trainer. I'm successful. I wanted to make a podcast with my brother, right? The idea was there, and now it was a worthy idea, and I chased it, and now I'm successful in it.
Yeah.
So it was like the same thing the sermon said. It's like, it's cool that now we have so many people have the option to be successful with their own two hands. If they find a worthy ideal, they chase it, and they get to actually live by what their life and what they want. Like, they get to live by their creativity, and they get to live by what they want. That's success in my mind. So it's cool to see, like, where social media is heading, but at the same time, it's also, like, a blessing and a curse, because now some people have too much of an influence and too much of power to sway the minds of younger kids and older adults as well. So it's like, it's a very powerful vehicle. It's a very powerful tool, and it seems like momentum is the only thing that's going to stop it. So.
It's super powerful, and I think that part of my job with the marketing stuff is to not understand the algorithm because it changes, but to understand, relatively speaking, what the algorithm's goal is, and the algorithm just wants you to stay in the app longer. So it's going to feed you the things that you want to see, and that's what people think, right? It's going to feed you what you want to see. So if you're seeing, it's like a joke. If you're seeing, like, you know, women in, I'm going to try to be politically correct, women in bikinis, then that's probably what you're searching, but that's not true.
Right.
There's also an element of marketing that goes behind the scenes that we don't really realize, that it feeds you things that it wants you to know about. So like, I mean, we don't understand the power that the internet and social media has on our brains. And I always question my own views. I'm like, okay, do I have this view because I saw it 50 times in the last 2 weeks?
Right. Or
do I actually have this view? So that's where, for me, that's where Christ comes in. That's where reading the good book comes in. It's like, that's my sort of my central, what am I trying to say? That's like, that's my foundation, right? I use the Bible as like sort of my foundation for how I should be as an individual, but also how I should think and the things that my mind should be focused on. And that has changed my life. You know, being saved in the last, almost 3 years.
Amen.
Yeah, man, it's changed my life. And even the way I do business has changed. Like, I'm going to keep harping on it because I guess I am a little bitter. I probably need to pray about it. But like, having customers who don't, like, who use the studio don't pay, right?
Right.
I'm not a gangster, but I'm from where I'm from. I'm from Harlem, baby. Like, we don't play that shit. So like, my first instinct is to call homeboy up and be like, yo, my dude, what you think this is? That's my first instinct is to like take it personal and, you know, just be a certain way. And if I wasn't, and it's true, like, people joke, if I wasn't saved, you know, you're lucky I'm saved. But it's true. Like, the peace that God has provided me and the guidance He provided me in my life, I apply that also to my business. And I think that as a believer who owns a business, you should be having like a God, Christ first, Christ-centered business. Like, and from the way I treat people, from the way that the integrity that I have behind my business, to, you know, being slow to anger, slow, and also I think a big thing is slow to putting yourself down, because it's so easy to wake up in the morning and be like, yo, I can't do this, or something happens that's pretty detrimental to your business, and you're like, I mean, I'm giving up. But it's like, for me, my purpose lies in the purpose that God has for me. So I'm constantly asking Him for His will, even my business. Like, what is your will for my business today? Because this is His business, this isn't my business. And it's definitely not growing the way, it's never going to grow the way I want it to grow. It's never going to be to the level that, because I want it to be a multinational business, and it's been a year, right? But God is putting me through the journey that I need to go through to understand how to actually run this thing, have the ups and downs, so that I'm solidified in the end. And then, hopefully the victory is always going to be His, but hopefully part of that means that I have a larger business. Yeah, man.
I just lost track of what I was going to say, but I am going to double down on what you say, because I think business can be, I mean, we look at big business. For me, for example, I work for Amazon Web Services. It has 1.7 million employees.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so when I think about what that business is and what it provides, the internet to the world, but as far as how it treats people, how it goes about treating the customers and how it goes about treating its employees, it's numbers in a system. And for me, it's very hard going from, or it's not hard, but it is different to go from an environment like that to an environment like this. I would like to think Amo Purpose is a small business for one way or another. We work directly with people. It's not a matter of we have a massive overhead and we have all these numbers that we're shifting and we have to shift people and, you know, firing and hiring. It's none of that. It's personal. It's with people. And I think once you get to a point in the business where you treat people not like people, like I think about even sales too. Sales is a little weird for me because I want to sell something to someone that is going to change their life. And for us, and for with Aim of Purpose, that is following God and committing your life to Christ. That is what I want to sell, but at the same time, I don't want to make it so large scale that I miss that disconnect, or I miss that personable relationship because I'm trying to maximize the band of the business to the point where people are just numbers.
Sure.
And I don't know. I think it's just there's different ways to go about business. Is really what I'm getting at here. And a Christ-centered way of going about business is the most
plausible and peaceful way to
go about it because no one is getting used. It is a mutual exchange of what the service or product is and the intent behind the service or product.
Yeah. That's like how I train. Like, I go to work and I don't look to find people as a number and it's 100. We won't say, but
right. As a dollar amount.
Yeah, it's not a dollar amount, right? Like, I'm not looking at this person as this is how much you pay an hour and I'm about to get the X amount of percentage. I look at it as you're coming in here and I really want to help you. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to plant a seed into your life that it can help you, and hopefully you water it and you grow. And every time I do train that person for an hour, I feel very fulfilled. And that's like my currency for the day.
I'm still amazed, bro. Like at you, bro. Honestly, man. When I went to XCal, because I would see him around. Like I swear, like it's been 2 years. I would see you just when I went to TFE. You were there.
The first time I ever.
I didn't know J. Cole lived in Ashburn.
At first time I ever met him, bro. I walk up to him and I go, Cam Newton.
And I'm like, J. Cole.
Yeah,
we should do a double album. Yeah, man. It was funny because I would see you around here and there. And I definitely, when I saw you at XCal, you had a whole different spirit, bro. It was dude. You were like a whole different person. You looked the same, but you were a different person. And then I just could not believe. And in my journey, my journey is, you know, like everybody has their own journey with Christ and getting to know Christ. My journey was slow, and there was a lot that I was kind of refusing to do, like actually really open my Bible, actually really try to have a Christ-centered life. And actually talk out loud about Christ. And then I go to XCal, and this guy's like, all right, have a good day, God bless you. And I'm like, this guy works here, and he's telling the customers, God bless you, like, and they're not even sneezing. And it was just really interesting, like, how open you were and how loud you were about it. Like, I was inspired, man. And you never know, not to get mushy, but you never know how you can impact people. You never know who you're impacting. Right. And just being you. And I'm telling you, I'll tell my wife, I'm like, yo, I'm going to XCal, training with this guy Isaiah. Like, he's so open and just, you know, with his faith, and he just wants people to know Jesus. And I'm like, it's just, I can't even, it's like a fear that a lot of, and you're a newer Christian too, or you're newer to the faith. That's like not a regular thing. I think it takes people time to, even for themselves, to like live a life where they're glorifying God constantly. You just embodied that for me. So you helped me in ways you have no idea how you helped me.
That means a lot, bro.
Honestly,
truly, I
seriously.
appreciate that.
And so, too bad, XCal is expensive as hell, so I ain't going back for a minute. But it was nice while I lasted. But yeah, just, you never know how you're going to impact people. What question was I going to ask you guys?
Yeah, no, that is very true, though, bro. Like, I don't realize how much I impact people there. I woke up at like 7 a.m. like 2 weeks ago. I'm training a professional golfer now. He's 55. He's number 4 in the world right now.
Whoa.
He did Worlds 2 weeks ago. He got number 4 at Worlds. Sadly, they were competing during that hurricane, so all the wind was messing him up. But he just gave me his thanks and told me like how much he appreciates me. And he like realized like how much I go the extra mile. And for me, it was like, I'm just trying to make your swing better, bro. Like, I'm just trying to learn the functionality of golf. I've never played golf in my life besides Topgolf. I'm not good at it. Didn't hit the ball, but like, I'm just trying to make him better. And the fact that he paid it forward by showing me like just that little text, it made my day going forward. And going back to like how I've changed, right? Like TFE was 2022 January to May I was there, and May 2022 to now is how long I've been at XCal. And in that period of time, you know, these last 2 years, I've really been in my word and trying to apply it. And it's not an easy coming, right? It's hard for me to apply. I've never been really like book smart or anything growing up, but the Bible really just shows me like instructions of the way I should live my life, and those fruits come naturally to me. Like people say, the Bible stands for basic instruction before leaving Earth, so it feels like the instructions have been installed into me subconsciously, and I try to just live by it, by being myself, like you said, and I try to, you know, plant a seed, whether I'm suffering in the sauna for. I'm sure plenty of people talk to me in that sauna about the craziest things in the world, but at the end of the day, I hope that it moved them. And
he'd be in the sauna talking about, do you know Christ? And then doing a whole sermon on the mount.
Bro, no.
And the sauna will be like, the other person's like, so.
I remember one day I did tour my boy Isaac Lawyer, shout out. His brother, they're Mormons, and a lot of people look at religion as, you know, in my opinion, religion was made to like not see eye to eye. I think it was made by the devil.
Boxes,
And I think the devil made religion to like us to be divided. So people think Mormons and Orthodox Christians or whatever it is can't see eye to eye. And for me, I just claim my relationship with God, but I'm talking to Isaac about it, and he didn't know. He was like, it's so confusing, I don't know what version to read. Bro, just pick up the word. Just pick it up and read anything. And I was like, read Proverbs tonight. And I made sure he, like, texted him after the words and made, like, I was like, hey, did you read? So we do 21 minutes in the sauna, and I was like, I'm going to go back in. And for me, I look at the sauna to, like, crucify my flesh. Like, I look at it to, like, separate my soul and my flesh from one another. And I stopped doing it all summer, and I see a big difference. But for a while, I would do, like, 25. So I go back in, I did 21. I need to go do the extra 4 minutes. So I go do the extra 4 minutes. And this guy comes in, this young kid, and I don't remember any of the conversation. That's really weird because I feel like it wasn't my spirit, it was like the Holy Spirit. And God didn't want pride to be in my heart, so I forget the whole conversation of what I actually said. But this young kid, he comes in, he's 19, 18, and he starts asking me about Dante Young, if you remember that guy, the Retan Gang, shout out Ethan, but I'm sitting there, I'll talk about, it's basically like this semen retention guy on YouTube I watched when I was like 18, and I'm talking, I told the kid about it before, and then he was like, man, he's really good, but you know, he asked me about God, and I just started like, I'm at minute like 27 in the sauna, 190 degrees, bro. I talked to him until minute 46.
Jesus.
I took that break just at 21 for a minute, and I went back into 46. I'm sitting there, and I'm literally like dead, man. Like, melting. I'm like dead hanging, like my upper body, torso is folded on top of my legs, and head is low, and I start talking about, he was like, well, I've done a lot of bad things in my life, so like, it feels like I can't be accepted. And it was almost like, I got like raised from the dead, my body language raised, my tone started going up, and I was like, look, like, why do you think he sent his son down? Like, why do you think he sent Jesus down? Like, you're not gonna be like separated from one another I don't remember what I exactly said, but basically along the terms like, what you did doesn't make a difference to me, right? Like, I've done a lot of inhuman things, but God has made me feel like that was all forgiven, and he sent his son down to, you know, die for our sins. And I started explaining to him, and, you know, it was this whole thing, and afterwards he just was moved. And that was like the first time that I've actually like seen someone move by the Holy Spirit. And yeah, there's a lot of things I've done at that gym, and I appreciate that gym for being like, unlike any other company I've worked at, because they're very like open and they let me be myself. And it is pretty cool, and you know, I'm very grateful and blessed to work there. There's nothing else I really want right now. So, but yeah, like the God bless you, I always do that with every person I talk to, like every conversation. That's never ever going to stop.
Dog, I mean, I told somebody today, like, I'm telling you, it has an impact. My boy's wife is in the hospital right now, about to give birth, and he's not a believer. And I never told him ever before, like, God bless you. And I mean, it may sound infantile, but for me, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, he sent me this message, and I'm like, yo, congratulations, man. God bless you. Like, and I know he's not gonna, but like, I do that because I felt influenced by the fact that you do it so openly and freely. Like, it's almost like paying it forward. Like, you say that to me in the morning, I say that to somebody else, even if they're not a believer. But I have a question, man. So I feel like we're a little sleepy today, but I feel like we all are in a particular season right now.
Oh yeah.
And not to be a downer, but what do you think this season of I'll call it a season of growth through the mud? How are y'all? What is it doing to your faith, if anything?
Increasing mine.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I mean, like, it's definitely increasing mine because I know as I climb up the ladder, there's something trying to pull me down more. And I know as I like walk towards God more that, there's more spiritual warfare. So I'm doing something right. It's almost as if anyone can agree, even if you're not a man of faith. If I'm doing something right, I have haters. That's what I feel. Everyone agrees to that, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like the same thing. If I'm walking towards God's will, I have some type of spiritual haters after me. But it's definitely increased my faith over the last couple months. Since about August, I've been up and down, and a lot of things have been happening in my life. But for me, it's like I'm always going to just turn to God and turn to the Lord, because I know that there's still a greater plan for me in the long road. So, like I've rose the highest I've ever rose. I've climbed the highest I ever climbed, and the higher you go, the harder you can fall. Right? And this isn't the hardest I've ever felt, not merely in my life, but it has increased my faith in terms of like, if I have nothing, I know I have Him, or the Lord. So that's how it is for me. Like, I've lost a lot in the last 2-3 months, but I know that I still have God, and that means I can build off something. So that's just where my faith has been the last few months.
I think it's for me. It's showing me that no matter what I think is going to happen, what is going to happen is and can be completely different.
It's like His will and your will is completely different.
And
that's also what I've learned as well.
Yeah, and
I was doing stuff for my own greed and my own will, and just like the sermon I learned the other day, is for months I'd always want to do stuff for others. And I got all these things that I was on top of the world, like it was euphoric with the wealth and everything that was coming into my life, and the payment of helping others was all in my life, to the point where I started living for myself for a little bit. And I did that for merely 2 weeks compared to a half a year, and I crumbled because I was trying to do what I wanted to do and not what God's will was to do. And that's what really separated myself the last few months. So piggyback off what you said.
But yeah, I think it's been humbling, and it's like, I wouldn't say I'm not, kind of like what we were highlighting, like I don't feel my worst. I've felt worse, but as far as how I would have reacted if I didn't have God, man, I'd
crash out.
To lack of a better term,
no.
I would be crashing out. I would be panicking. I would be in stress. I would be in disarray. I would be doing things that I wouldn't agree with after the fact. It's showing me that I'm not ready for what I think I deserve. And as of right now, I am standing and walking side by side because I want to have the confidence that I'm ready for what I think I deserve. And clearly, as part of God's plan for my life at this very moment, I'm not ready to receive the things in which I think I deserve. And so that idea is very humbling, and it's also showing me, once again, what is really important here. Because when you get to those highs, like Zay is saying, and you are externally thriving, you tend to not hone in on what's really important. And then you come all the way back down, and now you walk back towards what is really important. And so it's kind of this cycle, but the most ideal situation is when I'm in this low, to no matter what part I am on this graph, to always make sure that God's with me and that I'm following His word, building that connection in prayer and with speaking with other people too, to not stray away just because I'm not feeling what I believe are fruits of my faith. Like that's one thing that people I think people misconstrue that idea in that because you act or do a certain thing that you deserve certain things, and you deserve what you are given. Like I'm in this rut because of my own decisions that I made. So it's naive to think that I can just as quickly turn around, or I can in an instance change all that in in an instance.
Yeah.
Like there's a process, just as much as it was a process and a slow slope down to the realization of, wow, I'm really at rock bottom. It's going to be a slow climb up the other way, and I look forward to it. It's almost kind of like Job. It's having the strongest faith in the midst of everything crashing around you, and then it really shows you what is really important when things aren't going your way.
It helps you also redefine what crashing and burning is versus what climbing and thriving is.
Yeah.
And you realize they're both the same thing, because either way, you're living and breathing by the grace of God.
Yep.
God's grace is the reason why. I mean, even within the crash and burn, it's God's grace, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm at a place now where God had to strip everything from. I mean, God, He stripped everything, and it's crazy because I think about the reason why. I mean, how could I word this the right way? I think God has shown me that He has tried to put me through this season before, but has successfully allowed me to not be in that season because I've gone by my own will, and I've been able to not go to the bottom. I've been able to like recover real quick, find another thing, make this money, do this, meet this person, do this thing, and then thrive for like a whole year. And then it was just delayed. It was a delayed lesson.
Right.
And this is the first time where I saw stuff kind of going to a certain place, and I was like, no, this is God. This is God's grace right now, telling me, God gave me a vision last year, literally multiple visions of just who I wanted, like who He wanted me to be, from a father perspective, from being a son to how He wants me to run my business, and I can see the image as clear as day, and it was almost like, not almost like he He talks to us in different ways. He told me like, I'm gonna push you through some stuff in order for you to get to where you want to go, because we both agree that that's what you want, right?
Right.
I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. And it was like as soon as I sort of accepted it and let go, I saw things in my life completely start changing. Not on the outside, not for the better.
Right.
But I have this level of contentment because I don't see this season I'm in, which isn't, there are a lot of things going on. Everybody got stuff going on.
Right.
But there's a huge difference between the way my life was just 6 months ago versus now. And it's, by all accounts on the surface, it's not great. People got sick, people around me got cancer, people I love died, financial stuff has happened, just a lot of different things. But I no longer see it as I'm going through this. I'm going through this.
Right.
God is putting me through.
Right.
When you see everything as if you see everything as sort of God's hand literally directing everything, and you accept and live in His will, then you're just kind of an observer. You're just kind of looking at things happen, and you're like, it literally forces you to live day to day. I realized that before. He says lean not on your own understanding.
Yeah.
My whole life, I've leaned on my own understanding.
Same.
And success can really make you lean on your own understanding.
Right.
You're thinking you're successful because you worked hard and, God got me, but you're not following His will.
Nope.
And I never never heard of that until 3 years ago. I didn't know what God's will was for my life. I would pray, but it was for the things that I wanted. And God would give them to me. Like, I used, I was one of those people who thought I could manifest things because literally I felt like I could. But God was just setting me up for where I needed to be now, which is being so stripped down that my happiness is contingent upon how much money I have in my bank or who's hitting me up, what kind of little celebrity person and wants to work with me, whatever it is. Now my happiness just literally comes from knowing that I exist and knowing that He died for my sins, which sounds crazy because I never understood how you Christian people could think that way.
Right.
And now I'm one of y'all, and I'm just like, I understand the contentment. I understand that when I see people who are true believers, or at least true seekers and believers, they just have a certain air about them. No matter what's going on, the world's going crazy around them, and they don't even see it as the world going crazy. They see it as lessons to learn and to grow and to get closer to Him.
Yeah, like earlier you brought up, you can't look at the past, you gotta put your back to the past. I would say you just look at the past as like a lesson. I didn't want to cut you off earlier, but you can't look back at it as a dwelling on it.
No, but you did. We're going to go back. I want to look back in the past and think about how you cut me off.
That's what, like, you just want to learn from this pretty much. So,
that's
you want to allow these last 3 months, it's not, I'm going through this, it's me and the Lord are going through it together, and I am learning from my mistakes I made with my free will. And it's truly a blessing, whether it's through the ups or downs. It's still all glory to him for him actually humbling me to put me through this lesson. I'm like glad I went through it, right? In the moment, it didn't feel good for a few days, few weeks or months, whatever it was, but I'm glad I went through it because now I know what not to do, and I learned it in the correct manner this time around.
Humility is freedom. Humility is literally it's freedom. Because we, as humans, we're constantly battling up against the things that we want. And, you know, we're never satisfied. There was this theory, I don't know who said it, but there's this theory that all wars and all, you know, contentiousness around the world will end if everybody got what they wanted. Then we wouldn't need wars, we wouldn't need, you know, all this crazy stuff that's happening in this world. But the truth is, we're never satisfied as a species. We're never going to be satisfied. But believers, true believers, people who at least are seeking and following the word, there's a sense of satisfaction that you just get because you're no longer looking at the world as a source of food, right? You're not. It's hard when you and I'll say it, like when I would hear that before I got saved and before I really tried to get into work, and I didn't understand it, and that's why I no longer try to. I just do what you do, man. I just tell people, God bless you. I'm praying for you. I no longer try to convince people because it's like, I was where you were 3 years ago. There's no way you could explain to me what that even means. Like, it's just no way you could explain to me the glory of God and just being content on the fact that He gave us the grace to walk the earth, being saved. Like, you can't. I think fundamentally, but I do think a lot of people, and I know that I don't know the numbers, but I do know there are a lot of folks who are now turning to God in different ways.
Yeah, He's gonna pour His Spirit out in the final days.
And I mean, and you can see He's pouring His Spirit out, and I think that people are. If we're real, nobody wants to talk about it, but in every single industry, because I work across a lot of industries in my public relations work, every single industry is literally suffering. Like, they're on the precipice of like just going down. You could tell. And there's this weird air of it. You feel it in the air, but nobody's actually saying it out loud.
Right.
But what's happening is that people are now more concerned. They're more worried. They're kind of like, do you think such and such is it? You know. But nobody's taking action because we don't really feel it or see it. We don't really see it. We kind of feel it. But I think that a lot of people are going to begin to turn toward a higher power, whatever that is to them. Hopefully it's Christ. But I see it, man. I see a lot of addiction around me a lot because of what I do on day to day. Like, I see a lot of people who are addicted. I see a lot of people coming into the rooms who are seeking something different and trying to get out of their addiction, and it's just increasing. The levels of the amount of people who are suffering and in quiet is crazy. And you want to tell people, like, yo, just put God first. That's literally it. Like, put God first. But, people have to go through their own journey.
Yeah. It's also harder to say. Like, it's harder doing it than it's harder. Whatever it's saying.
It's easier to say.
Easier to say than do it. Yeah. Like, if you were to say, put God first. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? How do I do that? I feel like a lot of people are more like spiritual. They're realizing that there's something inside this flesh that controls them, and it's. People are realizing like their faults. It's like people that are addicted to weed. So there's no weed addiction. There's people that there's people that are like being more realizing that like they're coming to the realization that they have faults and they need to work on it, but they always battle with that every day. And people don't realize it's actual spiritual warfare, but they're still going through it and trying to mend with it on their own two hands, and they'll continue to do it until they're like, oh, it's just going to get better. But they're just battling spiritual warfare on their own. And that's why some people are coming to God and some aren't. And that's why I think it's just easier for some people like to see that. And for me, it's the last 7 months, 8 months, really, really been dedicated to my word and living by faith. But I feel like it's leading by example that really starts with it. Like, I could sit inside my gym and hold up a sign and say, here's a free Bible, or do all these things, right? Some people might just take it to be nice because they know me, but some people aren't going to actually going to live by it
with his Bible.
Yeah, it's some people aren't going to just like you said earlier. You can't cast your pearls to swines. I forgot what verse that's from, but you can't cast. I think it's Matthew, but you can't cast your pearls to swine. So basically, like, I can't all day preach and say these things about what are from the Bible, because you may not even listen. Like, I'm not going to give you pearls if you're not even going to use these pearls correctly. But just planting a little seed like that and then allowing people to be open to it, and then they ask about it, that's what I think is the beautiful thing about it. So that's like, I've been trying to lead by example, and a lot of people are realizing my growth, and they're starting to like come open to the thought of having a loving God in your life every second of the day. And that's like a lot of my other friends as well that I've been talking to, just playing video games with, like just planting seeds into them and realizing some of them are like being open to it. Like, I have one boy who's legitimately like atheist, doesn't believe in God, and he'll say like, he did it last night, but like he'll say gosh now, and he'll like it's just little things like
little things.
Yeah,
Yes.
like it's like, I don't know. Some people are just opening to it, and they're just being more aware of what's happening, and some people are going to realize, the truth when the trumpets are playing.
Bro. Spiritual warfare is something I didn't know about till earlier this year. My wife sent me a David Diga Hernandez. You should look at him on YouTube. I know I just sent you some stuff. He's crazy. He's tough. He's anointed, man. And I watched this 2 hour, and she sent me a 2-hour video of him, just like a session on spiritual warfare. And I'm like, I would watch it if it was 2 minutes. It's 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But one day I had it playing in the background. I was working, and I was like, wait a minute. And I ended up like not working and just watching it.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, because he was speaking, it felt like he was speaking directly to me.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can't. It's crazy. It's just the church doesn't talk enough about spiritual warfare. I've never heard it in at least the churches I go to. It's like, this is something we battle every single day. Spiritual warfare, like whatever, these entities, these demons, these fallen, whatever they are attacking our families. Like my wife and I being attacked, and every person who's married is attacked, right? And it's just a matter of being aware of it and then doing what you have to do to overcome it. We're individually being attacked from, again, imposter syndrome is literally fear, which is a sin. Worry is a sin, and and that's all us battling with these forces that are telling us in the back of our mind, you're not good enough. You don't know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you? Don't even try to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know she's going to leave you.
Mm-hmm.
I know you had lunch with them and they were all smiling and laughing, but they actually hate you. They actually think you're stupid. Like that stuff goes through people's minds all the time, and we think it's just our confidence, but no, it's a mix of like the way that we see the world and the way we think of ourselves, but also it is actual spiritual warfare.
It's so common, dude. I mean, Ephesians 6:12, we don't battle against flesh and blood. We battle against principalities and spirits.
Yeah.
Me and Derrick were through these cameras on the floor and just start fighting. That's not me versus Derrick. It's literally against the spirit inside me against the spirit inside him. When you're on the road driving and someone cuts you off and you go around them, flick them off, and then just keep driving, that's not me versus random white lady in her car listening to music, jamming out. It's me, my spirit in me against myself.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people they wage war against themselves every day and don't realize, like, your flesh battles your spirit. Like, there's things that your flesh wants to do, but your spirit cannot do it because they know it's immorally correct, but you still do it anyway, and you succumb to that flesh.
That's why I listen to I read the Bible when if I'm walking on the treadmill doing a Stairmaster, and listen to gospel in the gym, because I'm like, that's spiritual warfare for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, lust is a thing, right? For especially a young man, it's I don't get why people walk around naked.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird to me. But I know that I have to set my whole life up in order. I have to know thyself. Like, be true to yourself, be honest with yourself, know thyself. And so I set my whole life up so that there's constant intervention from God. I've made constant room for God. So before I come into office, I usually, and we didn't pray before we did this, like we did last time, but we should. Mm-hmm. But I usually turn on some gospel and just pray and just praise. And one day I had a customer come in who was a believer. She was like, I feel the Holy Spirit here.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh, that's good. It's intentional.
Okay.
But like, just as a human being, man, as a father with 4 kids, as a father, as a dad, with one of my children autistic, and just as a just as a person, as a business owner, most business, working in politics, bro. Oh my gosh, God, that's spiritual warfare, and I just set myself up so that I'm constantly intervening, and it's something that I think it took a minute to do that, but like before meetings I'll pray. I'll ask God for discernment and wisdom. Like, should I be working with this person? Should I be around this person? Oh, they're sort of giving me something on a silver platter, but can I trust them? And I'll talk about even this place, Venture X. So the reason why we have this studio, we have a studio next door for free. The owner of this whole big company of this location, well, multiple locations, is a believer. So like, it goes without saying, he understands what I'm trying to do, and he believes in it. So like, that's why now, as a believer, I'm trying to surround myself with people like you guys, and not that I'm not looking down on anybody else, right, but like, I know that like, if I'm going to be a healthy, consistent person, I have to have God centered in my life, and I have to have people around me to help keep me centered and keep influencing me. Because like today, on the way here, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm listening to some gospel. Matter of fact, I'm listening to some gospel rap, some 1K Few, so I can get hyped before this. Because I was tired, bro. I got up early, went to the gym. I didn't sleep last night. And then what do? I used to be obsessed with Kanye, right? And I cannot listen to Vultures because it is literally demonic.
Right.
But what do I do on the way here, bro? I play Carnival. Go. So good, she an honor. Like, I'm just, because I love the beat, and I'm like, yo, you just gave in. You just gave in. And then I get a message from my boy. Ding! And he has like this daily sort of like verse, and it talks about discipline. It's like discipline, and I'm like, I wasn't disciplined. And so discipline is part of, discipline should be part of every Christian's life, right? It's like, it is so easy for us to fall. It's so easy for us to not open up our Bibles for a few days, not be around, like-minded individuals, not pray, just for a few days, and then you can become a completely different person.
Yep. It's Hebrews 12:11, I'm pretty sure. No discipline feels good at the time, but it always breeds a sense of righteousness in the individual that succumbs himself to undertake the struggle that goes with that. I think Zay hit it right on the head. Leading by example is by far what I've noticed the best way to lead people. Yeah, because I mean, like you were saying, it's one thing to tell people and to educate them, but there's always going to be that disconnect until they see, and more importantly, they feel it. Yeah. Like the one guy that you were talking about that said, I've done all these bad things, I don't think I'm worthy enough to follow something like that. That is literally the same reasoning that I had way back before I got baptized and saved and all that stuff. And it was harder for me because half of my family lives in Alabama, very Christian, very committed to going to church on a weekly basis, multiple times a week, and I always felt disconnected to them because I quote unquote didn't get it for other people watching or listening. And regardless of how I feel about it, things happened. It happened. The reasoning for it was there, and to know that the thing that created you also has enough grace and love for you that you can't understand to give you the opportunity to correct yourself and to be pure. I mean, you can't ask for a better opportunity to live, especially when you also view yourself as doing something so bad in which there's time, like certain people, they've done things so bad that they don't think they deserve to live, and that's really hard for that, and that's really hard to hear for me, but I can't imagine how hard it is to internalize that. Yeah. So when you go towards, man, I am given breath even though I do these things, it puts you in this state of, why am I not committing my life to it?
Yep. And I know for me, it was hard. It's been challenging up until just a few weeks ago to really understand what God's love meant. I have a whole set of things that I'm trying to understand about myself as I grow and as I have like sobriety and stuff like that. Because before I was just straight up DC, Politico, drinking every day, going out, acting a fool like with everybody else. And now that my mind has been clear for a while, I realized I haven't really loved the way I needed to love, and so I haven't been able to receive the love that I think a normal person would receive, because I couldn't identify, even for my own wife. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say this because I have daughters and I love my daughters to death, but having a son, 4-year-old son, I started, I don't know, I just identify, he's a young man, so I see myself in him. I see myself as a little kid in him. And I know how much I love my son. I know how much I love my children, but I know how much I love my son. And it's like, if God even has a small percentage of the amount of love I have for my son, for me,
Yep.
that is crazy. And I know that his love is leaps and bounds beyond what I could ever even imagine. And that's been like my new journey. That's been a new part of my journey, is like truly, when I'm reading the Bible, when I'm Googling, when I'm YouTubing, is like understanding what God's love really is, because it's the foundation of the entire universe and existence. Is His love.
Right.
It's literally a force that physicists can't measure. They know it's a force.
Yep.
And they know that if you have a mom in one part of the country and her child in another part of the country, there's literally a force that exists between that mom and that child, mostly coming from the mom, that attracts and heals, and they don't know what it is, because that's you can't measure it as God's love.
Right. It caps our understanding, or it exceeds our understanding of what we could possibly understand.
Yeah. And I've been hearing, I don't know why I'm going to this, because I don't know, I feel like I want to spice it up, but there's this thing that came out yesterday about UFOs and about about these secret programs that have come out. This secret program that I don't remember what the name of it is, but they said if you say it, you're going to be like followed. But
I'm already followed.
But it's interesting, because we talk about spiritual warfare and all this stuff with and all this stuff with the government is actually is bringing to the forefront that they basically admitted that they're aliens, and we're like, believers are like, y'all need to leave them alone. They ain't aliens. They're not aliens.
Demons or spirits.
They're spirits, but there are people within the government who are holding this information back, because they are saying they're religious, they're Christian, or whatever, they're believers, and they're like, these aren't aliens. These are demonic spirits. And you look at what's going on in the world, generally speaking, and it's like, it does feel like there's something, right? And you say the end times or whatever. And I think for me, it's I got to be honest, that's stuff. I mean, it's weird, but like that has influenced my levels of devotion, and I'm trying not to let that influence it. Like I'll be honest, like as a newer believer, I came into the belief to believing after reading Revelations.
Same here.
After finally reading it,
the first thing
that was
read.
I didn't believe. I'm like, the thing that held me back from even believing was Revelations. I'm like, what? I can't. If I can't believe one part of the book, I can't believe anything. But once I read it, things changed. Once I started reading it, I saw life through a different lens, and
Good
I'm like,
and evil. Yep.
oh snap! It really is a battle between good and evil. Here, there, everywhere. But now I'm trying to get out of that. And I'm trying, because it did solidify my belief, because really it was a physical, tangible thing, and I'm realizing now in my season that I'm in, God is allowing me to see things through faith and not fear, and because before the fear was enough for me to believe, and I didn't know how to believe without the fear that things were coming,
right.
and I needed to make sure I was reading my Bible so I could be saved, and I was doing works a lot. For most of the time, the beginning of the time that I was being a Christian, I was a Christian. And now I'm like, honestly, just now discovering what it really means to just be a faithful person, just by faith and not by fear.
Yeah, you always hear people say it in a prideful way, like, I only fear God. But the funny thing about that is, yeah, I fear God, but I also actively humble myself to the like all-encompassing quote-unquote fear. Like, I humble myself to the point that I love it. It's not a matter of I act a certain way or do certain things because I'm fearful. I do those things out of love, because what you do out of fear and what you do out of love will breed two different outcomes. If you constantly do it out of fear, it's not like, you should be fearful of doing the wrong thing, but you should, more importantly, love doing the right thing. So that loving what God has given you to the point where you only focus on doing the right thing, that is a always healthier way to go about it, because God is good. God is not, there's no room for evil in heaven where everything is good. So to use fear, to use that tool that the devil has in his belt to kind of skew what that love is, it's kind of a slippery slope. But yeah, I think loving yourself and God enough to do the right thing rather than fearful of doing the wrong thing. It's two sides of the same aisle, but one is good innate, like objectively, and the other one can be bad.
So you said the first book you read first book you read was Revelations in the Bible, right?
No, it's the only book I read through.
Read through?
Even now.
I've read that junk twice.
Even still, I haven't read through it.
So the reason that really, in 2020, I was in like the darkest part of my life, and to the point where all I knew and thrived off of was just the opposite fruits of the Lord, and it was almost like it fueled me, and I was basically in hell, allowing myself to be there and dwell there, and it felt good, and now that I know what it feels like to be burned, I don't want to be burned again because it hurts. And I was saved, just a brief testimony, but I knew what it felt like to be there, and I did not want to go back, and I was saved, and I had this love filled up with me, and I was starting to be very peaceful. And that was 2020 to 2022, but then I met one of my other brothers, Mark, shout out Mark, very good man, very, very knowledgeable, full of wisdom and understanding of the word, and I remember we're at my house, we're talking, and I was always looking into like conspiracies, right? I was always that guy for so long. I used to always get high back in the day and listen to 20-minute conspiracies, and like you said earlier, like it seemed so believable, and a lot of them had some proof behind them, right? It's nothing like crazy, like it's not like a UFO conspiracy. It was more about like what they would push in agendas and what they wanted us to believe and how they're trying to take our free will and all these things. And then he brought over and started talking about Revelations, and I connected the two, and I was like, it was almost like a veil was just lifted. It was like if my eyes were covered, and then it just started like slowly, my fingers started spreading, and I saw light. So it was like I put that two and two together, and it was almost like a veil was lifted, and I started following God, and I just started living by peace. Like I've always. Even when I was saved, right, I didn't want to be burned again, I still had fruits that would make me, not fruits, but like, I had traits that would make me still negative. I'd still be an angry person. I'd still have negative and imposter syndrome like you've been talking about all day. And I'd always have these things about myself that I would still be there. But as soon as I started like following God and I heard about Revelations and I accepted Him fully into my life and had conviction about the things that I've done and all these things, that's when I was truly like at peace. So like, earlier we talked about the spiritual warfare that we've been having. That happened a couple years ago. I'll damn near shut down for weeks and not do anything and be depressed and not talk to people the same. And, I might go just smoke to lash out and smoke to cope with the pain that I'm feeling, right? Now it's like there is no pain. It's more just like, I'm at peace. I'm at peace with losing a large amount of wealth. I'm at peace with things that happen at work. I'm at peace with whatever it is because I know that I have God. And once I learned about Revelations a few years ago, that's when my life just started changing. So shout out Mark, for real. That was life changing, bro.
Peace is hard, man. Peace is hard. Like, and I'll say being a married man, like peace can be difficult because, for example, like I'm at peace. I can see the horizon. I can see things that are coming on the horizon. And my wife is a believer. My wife is the one who got me into the faith, but she, I called her today and I'm like, hey, how's it going? Because I was at the gym and did a meeting and all that. She's like, I feel like I am so overwhelmed. I'm so anxious. We have this. She made this list of things. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, don't bring me back. Like, don't bring me there because I'm not there. I meditated, went to the gym, went to the sauna, went to the hot tub. I'm like at peace. And I let her energy just wash over me, and I had crazy anxiety that my mind started racing. I was like, stop. I was like, babe, did you pray today? Now, any other woman would be like, what? I was slapped it. And she was like, you know what, I did. And we should have prayed. I should have prayed on the phone. But I think that peace is hard when you're a person, like you're a parent. and you have like a spouse.
You have more responsibilities.
You have more responsibility.
Like, for me, it's like I don't worry about anything.
You have more responsibility, and you have it's the energy factor. It's like you might be at peace, but what I'm learning now is to stay at peace, even when the people I love aren't at peace, and that's super hard.
Yeah.
So it's my responsibility and my opportunity in that moment to bring my wife more toward where I can't make her be peaceful, but I can bring her toward where I'm at. And I used to be like, trying to convince her, well, you should do this, da 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 da. Now it's like, let's just pray. Like,
It's so odd that you say that, because it's like, let's say I do have a loved one that's just absolutely in shambles. For me, it's like, I'll just pray on it, or / I have faith that the Lord will just take care of them. Yeah. Like, I don't know what it is, and it's probably sounds very bad to other people, but I don't worry about anything along the lines. Like, if someone's sick, that's very sick around me, I have faith that they'll be okay. And if someone, anything that's just life-changing to someone for the negative, I just don't think about it, or even for myself, because I'm just like, I have faith it's going to work out. Like, the last few months, I don't even think about it. I just live with it, and I just keep walking with one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. I mean, I need you walking right, bro. Because
like nothing really bothers me. It's like odd.
It's like weird because the world thinks you have to be bothered. Even me. Like, I'm not worried. I don't be worried about nothing anymore. And my mind, it's like, yo, you're not normal, bro. That's not cool. You need to think a little bit deeper about this. And then I've learned to just be like, nah. My grandmother and one of my best friends got cancer at the same time. They told me 1 week apart, and it was heart-wrenching at first to hear from my grandmother, who was very, very healthy, and then the next week one of my good friends, but I wasn't worried, man. I was just like, bro, I don't know, it's weird, but my mind kept telling me, you gotta be worried.
It's the fear from the devil.
It's fear from the devil.
He tries to operate in a certain
What if this happen?
Yeah.
Or make you feel guilty. That's the thing. Made me feel guilty for not being worried. Mm-hmm. Like, are you even a good person? Like, no, I have the peace of God in my heart, and frankly, it's not. It may sound bad, but it's like I'm not the one with cancer. Like, I have the power to pray. I'm a believer. I can use God's power to help heal. Whatever. So, turned out both of them were fine. Both of them had surgeries. They both went well. Cancer gone within a month and a half. It was crazy. It was miraculous. They don't know how much I pray for them. Mm-hmm. But I didn't pray from a place of worry. I prayed from a place of faith,
of love,
and love, and understanding too our authority that we have. We have an authority. We should never walk around feeling like we are imposters. We should never walk around feeling like we are below. It doesn't mean you're cocky or arrogant, but like, we are anointed. Like, we have the Spirit of God that dwells within us, and I realize he's, and I think even with you guys, I see it in you guys. Like, he's constantly trying to show you guys your authority.
Yeah, we definitely are doubling down on. There's no parameter in place to say the right thing and to act the right way. There's no age barrier. There's no wealth barrier. There's no materialistic barrier. For us, even as young as we are, and like my older coworkers, they keep. They're like, you're how old? Like, you don't act like the 20-year-olds that I know, or the 20-year-olds that my friends know or my family know. And I don't really know what to tell them besides that I don't.
All glory to God.
Yeah, it's all glory to God. It what I've learned in the prayer in which I get into, and the way in which I act and I treat other people.
Well, also the glory to like what you've felt in your life and the lessons you've learned and the things that you've been through is all glory to God, because I've learned from it.
Yeah.
And that's shaped me into who I am. I think someone asked me the other day, it's like, do you regret doing this? Not at all. Because I wouldn't be where I would be right now on this couch if I did that.
Right. You can't change the past either, so there's no point in regret. The only thing you can do is focus on what you can do going forward and what you can do now. And every instance will change. You'll never predict how you'll act in a moment in which, like, it really gets to you.
Yeah.
Like, but at the end of the day, one step in front of the other.
Yeah, I mean, we came in to interview Derrick, and we didn't interview Derrick the whole day.
I interviewed God.
Yeah, that's what AWP
Yeah.
If you talk to Derrick. I was about to say, so we do have to start cutting things up. This was absolutely a blessed and knowledgeable episode full of wisdom, understanding for others, and hopefully they got some insight. We're at 100% going to have to do another episode with Derrick because we just intro was we're going to interview Derrick and then Derrick interviewed us. But I think this episode was amazing. We'll definitely have to record in the near future, but we all have some things we have to do today coming up on the time. But I wish nothing but blessings and peace to anybody that's watching, and I pray that you were moved at some point in this episode. So without further ado, we're all going to peace out. God bless everybody, and speak to y'all soon.
God bless y'all.